How's it going, everybody? So, today in this video, I'm going to be talking about overtraining. More specifically, probably it's better to call this under recovery. So, anybody who's been subscribed to me for a long time, well, first of all, you probably know that my channel predominantly talks about holistic health, nutrition, herbalism, psychology, and philosophy. But I'm also an athlete. I do mixed martial arts and Olympic lifting 7 days a week. It's a lot. It's a lot of exercise, right? It's very, very easy to overtrain doing this. Literally, going to the gym, doing heavy deadlifts, squats, and bench press, then immediately after, either hitting the heavy bag, doing sparring, doing drilling, some kind of intense cardiovascular skill work, or cardiovascular training in general, or some kind of high intensity training later on. I do a mix of these things almost every single day. So that is pretty much, I mean, I can honestly say, spending anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a day in the gym. Well, I wouldn't go that far. Usually it's about 4 on average. 4 hours a day at the gym is very close to what a lot of high-level competitive athletes spend. And this is a situation that can easily create clinical overtraining syndrome. So I've actually dealt with this for a long time because I myself am the type of person that goes balls to the wall when it comes to physical activity and exercise. I've been exercising vigorously since I was a child. My mom actually says I used to do backflips in her stomach when she was pregnant with me, and when they took me out of her stomach, I had a tangled up umbilical cord. And I was suffocating to death when I was coming out because I had choked myself with the umbilical cord because I was jumping around in there. And I started walking at a very early age. I was bicycling from the time I learned how to ride a bike when I was 3 all the way until I turned 21, in which I started doing martial arts and bodybuilding and other things at that time. So I've always exercised vigorously, but the type of intensity that is put forth in extremely heavy weightlifting and extremely hard high-intensity interval cardio training is much different than, bicycling all day and skateboarding with friends as a child. Those are a lot more leisure type activities with small amounts of intensity, and they could be intense if you want them to be. Anyway, I have been experiencing overtraining syndrome for quite some time, on and off, because I just train so hard. So, what is overtraining syndrome? Overtraining syndrome essentially is when your nervous system and your body, either one by itself or both, usually it's a combination of both, your nervous system and your body, when it cannot compensate for the amount of training and the intensity of training that you've been doing. And usually with clinical overtraining syndrome, the stress put on your nervous system and your body, it just accumulates over time. So when you first start training, you can probably train pretty damn intensely, but if you keep pushing it without giving yourself a couple days a week to rest, or a week to rest, a deload week, then what happens is your body just gets more and more stressed over time until it starts breaking itself down. And so you'll see excessive soreness, injuries, but more specifically, and this is what happens with me, is you're overly sensitive to everything. Overly sensitive to light, especially at nighttime. You are oversensitive to stress, like everything just seems to piss you off all the time. You might freak out at your girlfriend over some very small things. You might these things that didn't usually bother you before is starting to bother you all of a sudden. You'll notice oversensitivity to caffeine, like you'll feel really stressed every time you take it. And this can actually push towards clinical adrenal fatigue syndrome, which I've said previously doesn't exist. In this context, yes, it does. Because essentially what's happening is you're asking your body to release more adrenal hormones than it actually can produce. And anytime this happens, it has to break down, essentially. So more tiredness, okay, extreme exhaustion, fatigue and tiredness. You know, these are probably the main symptoms. You're going to feel tired all the time. You might sleep and then not feel rested. Or having insomnia. Okay, so you can feel tired and exhausted all the time, but not be able to sleep. This is a big sign of adrenal fatigue, but more specifically overtraining syndrome. Absolutely. And any type of stress can actually create this problem over time, but usually it requires extreme physical activity to really push it this far. Extreme exhaustion, insomnia, hunger or loss of appetite. Extreme hunger or loss of appetite. Usually loss of appetite is what happened. Extreme weight loss can happen. But the big thing is having all of these symptoms in combination with plateauing for long periods of time on your workouts, especially if you're lifting. This is why lifting is so important. When you plateau on your lifts, a variety of things can be happening. It could be your nutrition, it could be your workout protocol. But if you changed all these things and you've noticed you haven't been taking weeks off and days off, you haven't been taking deload weeks, and you've just been hitting it hard for a long time, especially if you're slamming down pre-workouts and caffeine, chances are your plateauing and your lack of progress in the gym is caused by training too hard, too often, and not resting enough and not eating enough, especially if you restrict calories or if you don't track your calories and make sure you're eating enough. Because with me, especially, this tends to happen after a while of doing my hardcore exercise routines when I'm not tracking my calories to make sure I'm eating a minimum amount of calories. So if you just eat by your appetite, you can easily be under eating, and this can definitely lead to overtraining syndrome, especially if you don't take days off. So plateauing on your training or lack of progress of your training is a big sign, big indicator. If you combine that with exhaustion, fatigue, constant irritation, basically when you feel like you just can't handle stress anymore, in addition to fatigue and tiredness, exhaustion, and the plateauing of your lifts, lack of progress in the gym, and degressing progress. If you start getting weaker and weaker, huge sign you're overtraining. So if you have all of these things in combination with lack of progress in the gym, you're probably overtraining. Now, if you're making progress, especially like rapid progress, if you're making strength gains, because cardiovascular and skill gains are harder, but you'll notice that it's harder to concentrate, and your reaction time might lower when you're doing skill training. But strength training, if you're gaining strength and you think you're overtraining, maybe you're not really overtraining. You're probably not. You're definitely not in a clinical overtraining syndrome state. But you probably need to eat more and probably need to take a deload week if you're feeling exhausted and these other symptoms. So, this is overtraining syndrome in a nutshell. If you want more details on what it is, you can actually look it up. There's many videos and lots of information on it. It's a very real thing. These people who say overtraining doesn't exist, full of crap. And if you notice, a lot of them are on steroids. It does exist, and it's a very bad thing. You want to avoid it at all costs. You want to follow a scientifically created training protocol if you don't know what you're doing. You want to make sure you're eating enough protein, carbs, fat, and the right types of nutrients, which I talk a lot about on this channel. Next thing I want to talk about, so we know what it is now. So how can we address overtraining syndrome? Okay, so if you've gotten to this point where it's clinical overtraining, there's a variety of things that you need to do. The first one is you need to just stop going to the gym. Now, you could, like, depends on what you're doing exactly, but you want to just remove high intensity cardio at all costs. Okay, you can do some light walking or something like that, maybe take a jog here and there, maybe do some skill work at a very low intensity, but nothing intense. Hitting the gym, if you're doing weights, if you really have to go to the gym and hit weights, just do really light. Okay, so I like to use the RPE skill. RPE means rate of perceived exertion. Basically, it's a 1 to 10 scale, 1 to 10. So a 10 means you can't do any more reps at all. It's like your maximum exertion. A 9 would be you can probably do 1 more rep. Okay, an 8 would be you could probably get 2 more reps. A 7.5 would be you can definitely get 2, maybe you can get 3, but you're not sure. Okay, that's a 7.5. Then a 7 is you can get 3. And it just goes on from there. So the rate of perceived exertion scale is a lot more effective for designing training programs. If you're working with a coach or if you're a veteran, because you're basically is a subjective rating scale. So if you are not very experienced, you could easily be shortchanging yourself by saying, oh, you might think you're doing a really intense workout, you might think you're doing a 9, but you're really doing a 7 or what have you. So working with a coach or just being really mindful of it, whatever, it would help. But anyway, using the rate of perceived exertion scale is very, very important. It's a very effective way of assessing your training and preventing overtraining syndrome from happening. So, how can you implement this? Well, on your deload weeks, okay, or if you're experiencing overtraining syndrome right now, what you want to do is lower your training down to somewhere like anywhere from a 3 to a 6, okay, on the scale. You don't want to go above a 6. You want to keep things really, really, really light. Okay, and you want to focus more on technique and maybe speed. Okay, if you're lifting, focus more on speed and don't lift at an intensity greater than a 6. Okay, so that means you should probably have at least 4 reps in the tank left. If you feel like you can't really do, if you're starting to struggle, if you're grinding out reps, like chances are you're training way too hard, especially for a deload. So careful about that. So this is coming from somebody who did Bulgarian style lifting programs for a long time, and in addition to MMA, and I've been doing like non-stop hardcore cardio conditioning and MMA training for a long time now. For years I've been doing this high intensity style type of training. I used to be in the gym for 4 hours a day just doing conditioning, not even including my martial arts class or classes throughout the week. So 4 hours in the gym is way too much. It's very, very easy to burn yourself out that way. Lowering the intensity of your training for a long time. If you have clinical overtraining syndrome, you want to lower the intensity of your workout for like a month, and you want to slowly work back up to where you want to be, slowly. The lighter and longer you go, the better off you'll be. You'll start to slowly see your brain start functioning again. Slowly you'll start to see your energy come back. It's really, really important that you do this. It's really crazy just how horrible overtraining syndrome is, okay? Or adrenal fatigue for that matter. People who are like really, really busy and they're stressed out in life and they experience overtraining syndrome with life, basically burnout syndrome. They need to lower the intensity of their work. So then the other thing you can do is go in the sauna for about 30 minutes a day, jump in a hot tub or a hot bath, especially with Epsom salts and essential oils, and soak in a hot tub for 30 minutes a day. Really relax and just don't even worry about anything. Don't do anything stimulating, just lay there and just chill. Hot cold hydrotherapy, where you jump in a hot tub and then you jump in an ice bath, hot tub and an ice bath over and over again, or doing cold showers or rotating between hot showers and cold showers. Excellent for recovery. Doing more pool workouts and less intense workouts. It's great. Swimming in a pool, I feel, really helps. Getting massages on a regular basis helps. Doing a lot more foam rolling and doing yoga is great. Like, all these things are going to help to relax your muscles and help to relax your mind. They're going to increase circulation, and it's going to help to flush a lot of the toxic byproducts of training. It's going to help to flush that out of your system, things like lactic acid and whatnot. And most importantly, the cortisol and the stress hormones, they need to diffuse over time. And this is really the biggest thing here with this syndrome. So the other thing you need to do, and this should have been number one, is eat. Okay, eat a lot more food. All right, you need to be tracking your calories. Make sure that you're getting well over the baseline, okay? And as a matter of fact, I wear something called a Fitbit. It's basically a watch that you wear around that monitors your heart rate constantly in real time. It monitors your sleep and your exertion and everything. And this all helps to calculate my calorie expenditure based on my heart rate. So if my heart is like elevated for long periods of time, obviously I'm burning more calories. And so I use this to help understand like how much I'm burning and how much I'm eating. And my damn Fitbit says I'm burning anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day on average. Usually around 4,000 a day, which is very hard to believe, right? And I track my calories, and if I don't force feed myself, usually I eat around 3,000 calories on average, which is not nearly enough when I'm burning 4,000 a day, according to my little gadget. So, find out how much you really need, how much calories, and don't be scared to eat more, okay? Like, if you're in a sport that requires like a weight class, it's gonna be a lot harder for you. Just know that if you're experiencing overtraining syndrome and you have to cut calories and lose weight, oh God, be careful. That's dangerous. A lot of people suffer from cardiac issues, cardiac arrhythmia, which can turn into a cardiac arrest. A lot of that happens during weight cuts. I've seen it happen with a lot of people. But anyway, so make sure you're getting at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. No, that is not some kind of bro recommendation or bro science. There's actually a study that's shown that that's how much athletes seem to need. It's a meta-analysis. Sure, I should probably find it and link it down in the description, but I'm probably not going to do that. You can look it up for yourself. If you don't believe me, that's fine. You're the one who's suffering. But at least 1 gram per pound of body weight. Okay, so the average person doesn't need a lot of protein, but if you're exercising, especially when you feel like you're clinically overtrained, yeah, you need more protein. And I highly recommend animal protein, especially from flesh, fresh animal flesh. I know that a lot of people, if you're vegan and you're experiencing overtraining syndrome, listen, when I was vegan for almost a year, and I felt chronically overtrained all the time. Interestingly enough, I also felt that same way when I was doing the ketogenic diet for 2 months. But any of these extreme diets, they can cause your training to be even more stressful to the body. And I'm just saying, make sure you get at least 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein, and I would highly recommend it be animal protein. Make sure you're getting about 2 grams of carbohydrate per pound of body weight at least, okay? But the more the merrier when you're experiencing overtraining syndrome. Then your fat, I would say you want to aim for like 50 to 100 grams of fat, mainly monounsaturated and omega-3. And this will help you get enough calories and nutrients to help your body recover so that you can slowly get back to working heavy and working hard again. Just remember, you need to eat a lot more, rest a lot more, sleep a lot more, and take it easy, okay? Because this is a syndrome of stress and catabolism. Your body's literally breaking itself down and eating itself. So you need to give your body everything it needs, all the food and all the rest, so that it can recover. So it can build itself back up, and so you won't feel like crap and lethargic all the damn time. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you think I'm full of crap, that's perfectly fine. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear anything you have to say. Like, comment, and subscribe for a lot more amazing videos on nutrition, health, philosophy, psychology, herbalism, how to reverse disease, everything you need to know. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. There's Lupita.